Guys, welcome to the video. It's been quite some time since I made a video, probably well over a year. And thanks to all those that have reached out to me and asked if I'm okay. So I did put a post on YouTube community saying I was going to step back from YouTube for a little while, and I think it's been long enough now, over a year. The reasons were mainly I was having a few little minor health problems with arthritis and not being able to get stuff done, and I had intended to produce this video probably a couple of months ago, but unfortunately myself and my dog, while we were out walking, we got attacked by an aggressive dog, and trying to save my dog, I got involved and I ended up getting quite badly bitten on the hand. Luckily both of us are okay now, and and it's all been sorted with the police and that, but I did have to go to hospital for a tetanus injection, x-ray, but lucky I'm okay. There's still a few little scars. I don't know if you can see them on the camera just there, but we're okay now, and the dog's fine now. But although the physical scars have healed, it's taken some time for the sort of the mental scars to heal, and I didn't much feel like trying to make a video back then anyway. So as you can see from the title of the video, this is Grbl 6.4, and what I've been doing, although I haven't been making videos, I've been working quite a bit on the software, and also some of you might have heard of FluidNC. FluidNC is an alternative to the Grbl and Grbl How, but it does support a subset of the commands of Grbl, so it does work quite well. One of the benefits of it, you can use Wi-Fi with it, so that's what I've been working on quite a bit, and I've been working on a web interface for that as well. But this that's going to be quite an involved video, so what I'm going to do is we're going to just briefly show you onto this video, and in the next video I'll do the full install and setting everything up for FluidNC. So what we're going to cover in this video, we're going to look at the support for FluidNC, and that will work without you don't have to use a web interface, it still works fine with the software. One of the questions I get from sort of feedback and that was, so if you've got a wing where the root and tip were quite different in size, in the display they would just fill up the available area and not really proportional to what was going on. So now that's been changed, and I'll just put a little screenshot up so you can have a look. And what I've also done is changed the colour of the initial loaded file. What was happening is on some displays the light grey wasn't showing up very well, so we've done that. Now, a big thanks to say a guy in France called Jean-Pierre. He's got a great YouTube channel. He's a clever guy. Originally reached out to me some time ago when we were having connection problems, and I'll discuss that in a minute. And he's actually built his own controller, which you can build yourself if you want to. So I'll show you a little bit about that later. I've got all the parts to build it, but I haven't got around to building it yet. But it is on my to-do list, like many other things. So Jean-Pierre has been really helpful and given us great feedback on the latest version, and without that it probably wouldn't look as good as it does now. So thanks very much, Jean-Pierre. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Now the other thing I've done is I've made some changes as well for the SKR Pico, which is this little board here. This is a great little board, and what was happening with it, I'll go into more depth of it when we go on to the next section. What was happening, sometimes the stepper motors, when you powered on, were getting very hot, and I'd come across that myself. So I'll explain what I've done to fix that. And then what we'll also do as well, I know some of you still contact me with connection problems, and what happened, there was a Windows update some time ago, and that caused quite a few problems. And again, Jean-Pierre was one of the first to contact me. Initially I thought, there's nothing wrong with something he's doing, but I then realised he knew what he was talking about, and so I do apologise for that, Jean-Pierre, if I've seemed a little bit offish on the first emails, but that's all sorted now, so I'll explain a little bit about that. So if that sounds interesting, you guys, stick around, and at the end of the video I'll give you a sneak peek of the web interface. And with the web interface you won't need to use a Windows computer, you can even run it off a tablet or even a mobile phone with a browser. So it opens it up to like Linux and Mac as well. So in this section, guys, we're going to have a look at some connection problems. I still get a few guys contact me that are having problems, and it's usually when they haven't used the foam cutter for a while and they get it out to use it again, and they get the problem. So I'll just show you what the problem is, and then we'll discuss what's caused it. So it's been fixed in the later software, but I've got the older software up, so I'll show you what happens. So we'll get the software up. Now this is version 6, so if you just go to about there, you can see it's version 601. Now it only affects certain boards, so let me connect up. What I'm going to connect up first, which I've already got connected, is the Arduino Mega 2560, and this is one of the sort of clone boards, if you like, and it's got a driver on it called the CH340. So I'll just show you what happens. So we'll just upload version 6. And if you want to check the version, what I've started doing now is putting the version number at the end of the XYZA. But just to be thorough, you can see the version there. So it's version 6001. Right, so what we'll do, we've got COM3 open, which looks like the right port. And then we'll connect. And everything looks all right. So we'll load up some G code. We'll just pick up the test. And because this is the old software, it hasn't got the scaled wire paths. So if we start to run it, you can see what happens. It gets to the first line and just says sent. And you start thinking what's going wrong here. Is there something wrong with the software? And you know, guys have tried relearning the firmware and all sorts, and it didn't do anything. So I was first alerted to the problem by, as I mentioned before, a guy called Jean-Pierre in France, and he was using FluidNC. Now at the time, FluidNC, I hadn't officially supported it, but it would work, but it would give you a couple of little minor warnings, but it would still work okay. And initially I thought, well, that's because he's using FluidNC, and I haven't supported it fully yet. But after a while, I started getting one or two other guys contact me, and I started looking into it, and I was having the same issue as well. So what it turned out to be, there was a Windows update that affected the driver. Now this particular board uses a driver called the CH340, and you can have a look at it if you go to Device Manager. So go to Device Manager, and we'll check the where are we? Ports. There we are. So go into ports there, and you can see it there. USB serial CH340 COM3, and it's this CH340 that was causing the problem. Now it wasn't actually the driver that was a problem. It was a Windows update that affected it, and the initial idea was just to roll back the driver. But what happened then? Every time Windows updated again, it would re-put this driver in. So I started thinking, well, we'll start messing with the registry to stop doing it, and it was just getting a bit of a going down a bit of a wormhole. So what I did is I started investigating it, and now if you've got the genuine board, where's my genuine? So this is the Arduino genuine 2560. So if I unplug the clone board, and just shut the software down. So we're starting from afresh. So we'll plug in. There we go. So this has just got the ramps board on top, but they're the same thing. Right, so we'll go back into the software. we'll do a connect. We're on COM4 this time. Connect. We'll go and load up the same software, same G code. Where are we? That one. Open. And if we run this now, you see it runs absolutely fine. And it's to do with the actual chip that's using the USB connection on the boards. So we just stop that. Stop it there, rewind it, and then we come out and we go to Device Manager again and look at ports. And see, we've got the Arduino Mega 2560 there. It doesn't say what driver it's using. You go into ports there, and then you can see this is a manufacturer, this genuine Arduino driver, and it's driver details. And I think this is actually using a chip called I think it's CPL. I could be wrong on that, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just the fact if you're using the genuine board, it never affected it. And some guys that probably got the genuine board are still running this version of software quite happily. Right, so when I start investigating it, and there's a whole post on the website about it, so I'll show you the post on the website. So if we go to, yeah, we are. It's the very top one, USB CH340 driver problems. So go into there, and I go into more detail there about what actually happens. And the other things you get, that the DROs are blank, but the board's connected. Jogging controls send a card, nothing happens. DROs stay at 0. So DROs is the digital readouts. And the problem was a window update, and what I did after some testing, I actually used to give me some idea how I could fix it. I actually used ChatGPT. I'm finding I'm using that quite a bit now, and it is useful. It's not always right, but it's quite useful. So the way I fixed it after days of debugging, I implemented a more reliable way to communicate with the USB interface, as recommended by ChatGPT. And what I used a new serial port stream in Windows, and it's developed by a guy called Jason Curl. And there's a link here on the website if you want to go in more detail. But the fix now has been in since version 6.25, and if you have any issues with this driver, just update to this and it all works. So if we come out there, and I've got 625 on here as well, I think. Yeah, 625 there. So we've got the same board still plugged in, as you can see. And no, I haven't. I've got the wrong board plugged in. Right, so let's plug in the clone board. We'll do a rescan. I think we're on COM4. No, it must be COM3. There we go. So if we load up the same G code, and if we start to run it, it runs absolutely fine now. So I mean, you'll see it stop there, but basically what it's doing, it's waiting for the wire to catch up before it can send some more G code. And you can see now it's starting to go. So that was a fix for that guy. So if you do come across that issue, just upgrade to the latest software. Let me just stop that. And as a release of this video, the latest software is 6.4, which is what the whole video is about, really. So if you upgrade to the latest and the greatest software, you will not have any issues. So what we'll do now is we'll go on and actually have a look at the 6.4 version of the software and show you the improvements, which I think you might find quite handy. So see you in the next section. So guys, in this section we're going to have a look at the changes to the software, and the first thing we're going to have a look at is the wire path or the display. So what we'll do, I'll get the new software up, and it's 6.4. It should install alongside the previous version, so if you've got 6.25 it should install alongside it. You won't have to delete anything. So we'll fire up 6.4, and I've still got the cloned Arduino plugged in, and what we do is we'll connect. To start with, doesn't look much difference, but if we load a file in, so let's go to a file, and what we're going to do is load my flying wing one here, and this is where you'll see the difference in the wire paths. So as you can see, the wire paths are now scaled to suit the actual wing profile. So if you have a look at the profile there, so this is a flying wing where it's, you know, the root's much bigger than the tip, and so we've got 310 there in the maximum units. We've got 310 there, and the maximum units the same, but the actual wire path has been scaled. And the other thing you may have noticed, I've changed the colour. And the reason for that was, it was again John Pierre contacted me. He was helping a friend out with a monitor, and they were struggling to see the original. So if I just bring the original up, 6.25. Right, so this is the previous version. We don't actually need to connect to, so I don't know if you know that, you can just load a file up. Right, so this is the previous version, and what we can do, we can just load a file up without actually connecting. So we'll go and find that same file. There we go. Now you can see now the way it's been scaled. It's just filled the screen and just stretched out the bottom one, so they don't really represent what we're doing. So that's been one of the main differences. Sometimes I get emails from guys that say that when they look in the two profiles here, it looks nothing like the wing. And what you've got to remember here is you're looking at the wire path, not the actual profile of the wing. Now, if we load up a straight wing with no taper, and the root and the tip are the same, so we'll put our Clark wire up here. So when we load this one up, you can see that the wire path is actually the same as the profile of the wing, because there's no taper on the wing, and the root and the tip are exactly the same size. So I think that's what catches a few guys out. So when we load up, so this is one of my flying wings, and you can see that the root and tip look different, and what we're looking at is the wire path. And you can actually see on this one, this has been done upside down, and what you can see is the tip has actually got some washout on it. So you know, it does look. I think this is a good improvement. I actually like the colour on there; it stands out more. And when we run it, it just goes and does the same thing. So right, let's have a. Yeah, so if you just set it to run. And you can see it follows the path, so it's just going over in red. And I haven't got any hot wire, so the hot wire side of things hasn't changed at all. So I hope you find that useful, guys. And you know, I probably should have done it a long time ago, but it did take a fair bit of coding to get that right, and because you have to account for all different issues as well. So that looks good now, and it should work with all, sort of standard G code for 4-axis. In the next section, guys, what we're going to have a look at is the SKR Pico. So this is this board I've got here. This is a great little board, as I've said previously, and there was a problem when we were using this, which the new software has fixed. So I'll explain that in the next section. Now, guys, what we're going to have a look at is a problem with the SKR Pico board. Now, this is this little board here. I think you might get to see just out of shot here. I've actually got it connected up to my power supply at 24 volts. It's not actually switched on at the moment. Now, what the problem was is, and I noted this myself running it, is sometimes you'd find that the stepper motors were really hot, and you think, what's causing this? And when I started looking into it, even though the drivers are configured in the software, it didn't seem to be applying the setting that was in the software. I'm not sure why this did it, and I did try investigating it, but what I decided to do was implement a solution for it. So now the reason I can't connect to it because I haven't powered the thing on. So right, let's power it on now. Are we on there? Oh, the wires come out. Let's just power off. Right, so we power on. There we are, the board's come on now. So if we rescan COM6 on this one, so we connect, and there we go. And you can see in the status screen there, there's quite a lot of information about the Pico there. Now if we go to the settings page, and on the Pico, if you're not aware, you can set the driver current and the steps per millimetre in the software. So you don't need to, like we do on the Mega 2560 base boards. You don't have to go in and start altering jumper settings. See, you've got some jumpers on that one there. So you don't have to go in altering the jumper settings. You can all be done with software, which is quite handy. So if we look down the settings here, so the actual current setting is on 140 to 143, and the micro stepping it can be set here. So I've got it on 16th on this one. It works just as well on 8. So and so all we have to do is alter the steps per millimetre. Now to check what the actual current is going to the motor, there's a command we can use. And this is part of Grbl Hot. So we type in M122, and I'll put this in the bottom of the video when I edit it so you can see it. If we just do a send, and you can see there's a load of extra information appeared there, and if we just scroll back up, you can see there it's telling us the drivers we've got, the current, the RMS current and the peak current. So that's set at 500, so it's got the settings okay. Now you can't talk to the drivers unless you have it powered on. Now what I was finding was happening when I was going in and running this setting, it was showing 0. And when it's a 0 setting, it applies full current. So the stepper motors were getting quite hot. So this command allows you to check them. And if you do find they're at 0, what I advise you to do as soon as you've powered the board on is connect the software straight away, because the command comes from the software. I did look at ways to see whether I could do it in the firmware, but I just couldn't see anything to do it. So what we can do now is if it is not, if it's R0, if we just put a capital I at the end, that means initialise. And these settings are all in the Grbl Hot documentation on extended settings. So if we send that, now you won't see anything different. But if we just do a 122 again, so it's read the settings and then set them. So that now sorts out any problems with the stepper drives getting hot. So I've had a couple of guys contact me about that one, and as I said, I've had experience myself. So that's one of the other improvements in 6.4. So now we've done that, guys, what we'll go and have a look at is probably the biggest change to the software is support for FluidNC. So we'll talk about that in the next section. Right then, guys, in this section, what we're going to have a look at is FluidNC. And you might be asking yourself, well, what is FluidNC? I suspect probably quite a few guys will know. FluidNC is an alternative to the Grbl firmware. And it's been developed by a guy called Barton Dring, a very clever guy, and he does actually sell his own boards. So the main reason I've been looking at FluidNC, and I've been looking at it for quite some time on different boards and that, is it has a Wi-Fi web interface, which initially is only meant for 3-axis, but as I said earlier, I'm going to do a whole video on this. This is just to give you a bit of a sneak preview of it and how it's supported in the new software. So the board I'm using is the MKS Tiny B version 1.0. Now there are other boards that you might be able to use. So if we just go onto the FluidNC website, so this is a very good website, very well documented. And then you can have a look down for the supported boards, existing hardware, there we go. So go to existing hardware, and it gives you a whole list of hardware there. So for foam cutting, we need one that supports at least 4-axis. So there's a few in here that have only got a couple axes, but if you scroll down, we'll find the MKS Tiny. Well, they're actually listed down the side here. There we go, the MKS Tiny B. So that's the board we've got here, and it's actually got a wiki page on it as well for the actual board. So it shows you the board there, connections, a schematic of it, and the different drivers. Now, the one I'm running, I've got the TMC 2209 drivers, but these are not set via software. They're actually set manually, like we do on the RV8825s and the A4988s. And it gives you where the pins are connected. Now, some of this is I've had to change a bit to suit the foam cutter. One of the things that doesn't work on the MKS board is using either of the heated bed or extruder. There we are, heated bed or extruder connectors. It's documented in the settings here. Yeah, so there we go. The driver MOSFET cannot be used with PWM, and that's the way we send commands to the hot wire. So to get around that, what I've done, and I'll put some pictures up, is use an external MOSFET driver, Pilo MOSFET driver, and that is connected to GPIO 17. I think let's sit down here somewhere. Yeah, this one. So as you can see there, you can either use 15 or 17. Now what I've found, if you use 15, sometimes when you power it on, the hot wire goes to full power. So changing it to 17, so you can see there, which may activate the spindle. So I use 17, and I'll put pictures up, show you where it's connected, but it does work really well. So what we're doing now is we'll connect up to the 6.4. So the board's come on now, and you'll notice that there's an aerial on it. This isn't the original aerial. I got it off eBay, and they said, oh, it doesn't come with one, which was a lie. I've had a few of these now, and they all come with an aerial. yeah, we're plugged in now. And if you connect up to your power supply, nothing happens. There is a jumper on here that says to use USB power. It's got off USB power, but we're on USB power at the moment because we're not connected to any drivers or anything. So make sure you've got that right if you're having problems with it. So what we'll do, we'll do a rescan. So COM3 again, connect, and there we are, we're connected. Even though we have the home in illuminated red, you can still move things around. It's just like almost an advisory that, you know, before you start, just home it. But as we just connected to the board, it wouldn't home anyway. So the main difference really is if we go into settings, you'll see now the settings are read only. And the reason for that is you have to set them through something called the config.yaml file, and that's loaded up to the board. So when I do the full video on this, I'll show you that. But you can't change this. You can see what the settings are, and as you can see, there's only a subset of the settings. It is Grbl compatible, but it doesn't support every Grbl command. But it has a lot of its own commands. So if you go onto the wiki, there's loads of different settings. It tells you how to set various things, and it's got lots of commands. And there's a section there on Grbl compatibility. So not every command is supported, but it does work really well. Now, if we go onto the software, you can see it works okay. On the older software, 6.25, you could connect to it, but it would come up with errors. So if we just load a file up, you can see it loads up as normal. So load a file, go to our file. There we go. So it loads up just the same. And then, even though we haven't homed it, we can just start. And it goes off running. It's just the same as any of the others. So if you want to use FluidNC with Grbl Hot Wire, then you can. But the biggest advantage of it has Wi-Fi. Now you can't use Wi-Fi on the Grbl Hot Wire. It's not set up to do that, and it would be a hell of a lot of work to do that. So what we'll do is we'll stop it. Do a reset. There we go. Turn the hot wire off. Exit. Right. Now what we should have now is if I bring a browser up. I think this is 50. Let's try 50. I've got several boards, so I can. There we go. So this is actually the web interface into the board, which I'll show you on the next video. So this is giving you a sneak peek, really. So because I'm on quite a wide screen here, on a smaller screen, this is actually shifted around a bit. But the main screen really is. Let me just change that. This will all be sorted by the time you see it. And so this is the main screen here. We've got the two wire paths. If I just upload a file, and there you can see it's loaded there. And it does look a little bit different. I think this is where the actual foam cutter is at the moment. So, and to start it, all we do is we press start there. And it starts going off. You can see and by doing that, you get rid of some of the script, make it a bit easier to see. So, and the beauty of this is it will work with any web browser. So potentially you can use this off a phone, a tablet. It will run on Linux, Mac. So if you wanted to do foam cutting and you haven't got a Windows machine, then that's an option. So if we go back to the screen there, and this is where all the settings are, which you can set on the web interface, and config items there. So all them settings we looked at on the on that file are all in here. So if you do need to change anything, that's the way you can do it. And then go back to dashboard. These are our files here, and this is our hot wire control. So now we're running, we won't be able to change the hot wire, but we've got the same things in on the hot wire. So you can override the feed and the hot wire temperature. These here are, I might, by the time I release it, I'm not sure whether to leave these in, because I think there's only one guy that uses them, but we'll see anyway. So so that's using FluidNC, so it's fully supported on the software, and I've been using it, and it seems to work really well, and I've done a couple of test cuts with it. The test cuts I have done using the web interface, there's still a few little gremlins in there I need to sort out, but I'll have them sorted out before the release. But as you can see, it's yeah, one of the things is the update, which is controlled by this pole in here. So I need to figure out what the best setting to use for that is. We go back to polling, and you see it's updating every second. Yeah. So I will tweak that. So that's FluidNC, guys. And the only thing is, don't try and run both at the same time, because if you run Grbl Hot Wire, then run the web interface, they will it will cause problems. You know, with your code. If you're running some code and you do that, you risk you know, it not working properly. So that's FluidNC, which is supported now. And then, as I said, hopefully before Christmas, I can't promise, but I will try and release the video on using FluidNC. We'll show you how to install the software, firmware, and get it all working. Connect. So here we are, guys, doing a demo, and I'm using FluidNC for this demo. And what I'm doing first of all is just homing the machine. So as you can see, the digital readouts are going back to 0 as the carriages come back into the 0 position. And then once we get the carriages all zeroed out, we can load a file and run the job. Load the file. So we'll load the file up. We use the same file we've been using all through the demonstrations. Open. Set the hot wire on about 30%. There we go. Set the hot wire. I think I set it around about 30%, I think. I do find later on it's not quite enough, and give it a little bit more. So what I'm doing now is just making sure the hot wire's hot enough with a bit of scrap foam there, and it's just dropping down on its own weight, so that looks okay, but it wasn't just quite enough. So you'll see in the video I did increase it just a little bit, and then once we've got the hot wire going, we can start it, and off she goes. So here are, guys, we'll take it out of the phone and have a look and see how we've done. You can see them wispy bits. That normally means it's not quite hot enough. So I'll just move the camera back to get a better view. We'll take the pieces off. There you go. Doesn't look too bad at all, that, does it? So this was just a demo piece. Just doing a full wing cut. It does take quite a long time with doing both wings and that. So I'm trying to get this video out as quick as possible. I just did this bit. I hope you've just watched the demo of it cutting some real foam and not just computer simulation. And I think you'll find these changes are quite useful. I mean, even if you're still using the ramps board with 2560 or even the MKS boards, I think you'll find the changes make a good improvement to it. So this video is taken me a little while to make because I haven't made one for over a year, and it's probably not up to my usual standards, but hopefully that's going to improve as I get back into doing some videos. As I said previously, the next one's going to be on FluidNC, using the web interfaces as part of it, and showing you how to do the install. The install has become really easy now, so we'll cover that. So I hope you found it interesting, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.